Liddell was born to a Scottish missionary in China on 16 January 1902.
Eric had to move back to England and study in a boarding school from the age of 6.
He was a very athletic student. He was known as a very fast runner.
During his education at the University of Edinburgh, Eric competed in many races and became known as a Flying Scotsman.
In 1924, Eric had the biggest opportunity of a lifetime. He was enlisted to run the 100-metre race in the Olympics in Paris.
However, the 100 metres race was to be held on a Sunday, and being a devout Christian, Eric refused to compete in this race as he wanted to honour God more than participating in the Olympics.
Eric Liddell's bold decisions were seen by many in a negative light, and he became known as a traitor to his own country.
But God had a different plan for Eric. He was accepted 200 metres, 400 metres races.
Just before running the 400 metre race, Eric received a note from one of his teammates which read, "It says in the old book, 'He who honours me, I will honour. Good luck.'" Eric ran the race with this note in his pocket and only read it after the race.
In the 400 metre race, not only did Eric win the gold medal, he also broke the Olympic and world records for the 400 metre race.
When asked how he won the 400 metres race, Eric Liddell said the secret of his success of the 400 metres race was the first 200 metres he ran as fast as he can, and the second 200 metres, with God's help, he ran even faster.
Eric Liddell surprised the man favored to win and raced to public attention on the track. But the race for which he is remembered, his grand run through life, began and ended in China, far from the limelight and the cheering crowds. This is the story of a man who won far more than Olympic gold. He won the love and admiration of everyone who knew him.
Eric Liddell became national champion and hero following the Olympics, but this was the time that God asked him to leave everything behind and go to China as a missionary.
Eric Liddell left everything behind without a second thought and went to China as a missionary.
In 1934, Eric Liddell married Florence Mackenzie, who was of Canadian descent. He had 2 daughters in China with Florence.
In the beginning of his ministry, Eric worked as a missionary teacher in a Chinese school.
As the Japanese army invaded China, Eric helped out at the local hospital. This was a very dangerous job.
During this time, Eric Liddell sent his wife and daughters back to Canada, but he stayed back to do God's work.
Eventually, all foreign nationals were moved to an internment camp where Eric became a leader and organizer.
Eric's third daughter was born when he was in an internment camp and he never met her.
Eric Liddell died at the age of 42 in an intern camp.
Eric Liddell once said, "It has been a wonderful experience to compete in the Olympic Games and bring home a gold medal. But since I was a young lad, I have had my eyes on a different prize. You see, each one of us is in a race greater than that I have run in Paris, and this race ends when God gives out the medals."
God wants you to be a winner too. Will you follow God faithfully and sacrifice all for Him?
We say time flies, but actually time stays and we go. We enter the starting blocks of life not knowing the length of the race. Our life may be a sprint or a marathon. We are not told in advance. All we can decide is how we will run. Joseph Wheaton has observed that every life shares a common mark, and he calls it the dash between the dates. On every tombstone, whether ornate or simple, they put a single dash, a hyphen between the dates. The character and quality of our lives vary greatly, but when all is said and done, we become precisely equal. They put one dash between the birth date and the death date. We all get one dash through life. That's it. No seconds, no restarts, and everybody finishes. The content of our dash varies, but in the end, the workmen still chisel only a dash. It reminds us of the stark truth. Just as man is destined to die once, and after that to face judgment, so Christ was sacrificed once to take away the sins of many people. In the end, men reduce all living to the cold mark on the stone. Those of us who live a life worthy of the Lord, following in the footsteps of Jesus, find the end of earth's dash to be the beginning of heaven's glory. Eric Liddell ran well and finished strong. He won a prize much greater than his Olympic gold medal. You and I are still in the race.